Once upon a time, I was so unfit, it was embarrassing. I couldn't even do a single press up, like a girl press up on my knees. I couldn't even do a single press up on my knees. I decided that I didn't want to die young and I needed to get in shape. I set about interviewing the following sports. Well, to be honest with you, it was more like they interviewed me. First up was football, or soccer if you're in America. Now, football was really, really fun, but there were two problems. First of all, I noticed after I'd been attending sessions for a few weeks that some of the girls who let me know that they'd been there for a number of years were still at a beginner level. Now, that's actually a lot better than I am at football. However, I'm the kind of person where if I take part in an activity and I don't incrementally improve, or there isn't the possibility of me incrementally improving over time, I tend to get really frustrated and, I think to myself, why am I even doing this? I did look into football clubs around London to see if there were any which were teaching people how to play football, but I couldn't really find anywhere that was teaching adults the game in a structured way, from basic level to intermediate to advanced. Secondly, I noticed an issue with the fitness aspect of things. While there are obvious cardiovascular benefits to running around and kicking a ball for 2 hours, and I'm sure you need strong legs to play football, playing football isn't a complete body workout. It doesn't do anything for your upper body strength, for example, and it also doesn't improve flexibility or mobility. Next up, I tried rock climbing. Side note, if you can't do a press up and you go rock climbing, your muscles will be so sore afterwards. So sore. It was ugly. I just wasn't having enough fun to commit to doing it 2 or 3 times a week. And to quote Rena Gracie, if you're not doing something at least 2 times a week, then you're not really doing it. That's often considered the minimum amount of time that people need to train jiu-jitsu in order to continuously improve. However, many people can't commit to training twice a week, and that's not to say that they shouldn't train, obviously. Also, no cardio, unless you rock climb really fast, which I guess you could do if you wanted to. Then I thought I'd combine football and rock climbing. What happens if you combine football and rock climbing? Rugby. At least in my mind. So I joined the university rugby team, and the girls were so nice to me. They were so nice, and I was so bad. It was better to have me off the pitch than on the pitch. That was how bad I was at rugby. I think for me, it was the variables of, half a dozen to a dozen other women, a pitch which could potentially be muddy, a ball that I was expected to care for like it was some kind of vulnerable infant, the likelihood of someone, accidentally stepping on my head in studded boots. At least if they step on your head in jiu-jitsu, they're not wearing boots. Yeah, I'd take jiu-jitsu over rugby any day. Then I remembered that as a child, I'd really enjoyed training judo. What I didn't know at the time is that Judo focuses more on takedowns and jiu-jitsu has a greater focus on ground fighting. However, many of the techniques in judo can be used in jiu-jitsu. After having done a bit of research, I decided that if I went ahead and did jiu-jitsu, I'd be killing 2 birds with 1 stone, or, getting more bang for my buck. I'm not sure what the appropriate metaphor here is, but I basically decided that jiu-jitsu was more appropriate for me because I could incorporate a lot of the things that I enjoyed about judo into that martial art. Now, prior to attending my first judo class, I had a consultation with a brilliant physiotherapist, and she basically told me that as people age, one of the main functions that they lose due to muscle weakness and joint stiffness is their ability to get up off the ground and also to recover from falling down towards the ground. And that makes sense to me because, as we know, people who are elderly are particularly vulnerable to falls. So I had a think, and I figured that with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I'd getting the most bang for my buck when it came to having that ground element, having my body essentially adapt to moving on the ground, being strong on the ground, and dealing with unpredictable levels of force on the ground. Whilst doing that, I could also incorporate the parts of judo, which I really enjoy. Beyond physical, I was aware that there's also a psychological element to training jiu-jitsu. If I've got an 80 kg guy pressing his shoulder into my chin, I'm forced to respond to adversity in real time. It's a stressful situation, and it can feel as if it's very dangerous, although it's a manufactured form of danger. So I'm able to essentially learn to respond to stress in a set of circumstances which everyday life probably wouldn't throw at me that regularly. There's also an aspect of continuous learning and continuous growth, as it's such a technical martial art. So to recap, it was the physical aspect of a full body workout, great coaches and learning systems, the opportunity to deal with facing adversity in real time, and jiu-jitsu is just really, really fun.